The interrogation chamber came alive with cruel light. Holographic displays surrounded the metal table where Kang Ho lay restrained. Images of burning human cities played on repeat, children running from laser fire, spaceships exploding in brilliant flashes. Entire planets turned to glass by alien weapons. The Velkari had recorded everything they wanted, their prisoners to see the complete destruction of their species. Commander Vex activated a neural probe. The device looked like a metal spider, with too many legs. It crawled across the table toward Kang Ho's head, making soft clicking sounds. "This will make you tell the truth, old human," Vex said with satisfaction. "Your mind will have no secrets from us. We will know everything about human. Military positions, hidden bases, weapon caches, survivors who still resist." The probe attached itself to Kang Ho's forehead with tiny needles that pierced his skin. Blood trickled down his face, but he did not cry out. The device began scanning his brain, looking for information to steal. But something was wrong. The readings made no sense to the Velkari operators. Instead of fear or desperation, the human mind showed only calm observation, like he was studying them instead of being tortured. Sub-Commander Drac manipulated the controls, making the probe dig deeper. "Your species fought well for prey animals," he admitted, checking the brain scan displays. "But fighting well means nothing when you lose. We have conquered 47 species across the galaxy. Some had better weapons than you. Some had stronger bodies. Some had faster ships. All of them lost because we are better predators." The other Velkari in the room chittered their agreement. They were proud of their hunting record. Their species had evolved on a world where only the strongest survived. They had claws that could cut through steel, scales that could stop bullets, teeth that could bite through bone. They were perfect killing machines that had never met anything they could not defeat. But Kang Ho just kept watching them. His old eyes moved from one alien to another, noting their postures, their weapons, their behavior. He seemed more interested in studying them than in his own pain. This made the Velkari uncomfortable. They were used to screams and begging, not quiet observation from someone who should be terrified. "Your psychological warfare is impressive," Kang Ho said finally, his voice steady, despite the probe drilling into his skull. The displays, the recorded destruction, the demonstration of overwhelming power, very effective against most species. I imagine his words were calm, like he was discussing the weather instead of torture. "But you have made several tactical errors in your approach." Vex leaned closer, his hot breath washing over the human's face. "What errors, pray, animal? You are strapped to a table. Your fleet is destroyed. Your people are scattered. You have no weapons, no allies, no hope. What errors could we possibly have made when we have already won?" Kang Ho smiled again, that strange, patient smile that made the aliens uneasy. "You assume that conventional military victory means the war is over. You assume that destroying our fleets and cities means destroying our species. You assume that we think about warfare the same way you do." His voice carried decades of combat experience. "These are understandable mistakes for a predator species, but they are still mistakes." The neural probe found memories of Kang Ho's military service. Images flashed on the displays showing human soldiers in training camps, battle plans for defending colonies, weapons specifications for human ships. The Velkari gathered around the screens, eagerly looking for useful information, but most of what they saw confused them. Human military training looked nothing like Velkari warrior education. Instead of teaching overwhelming force and intimidation, the humans seemed obsessed with endurance. Physical conditioning that lasted for hours, problem-solving under extreme stress, learning to function with broken equipment and limited supplies. The human soldiers ran for miles every day, not to build speed, but to build the ability to keep going when everything hurt. "This is strange," Drac observed, watching the memory displays. "Your warriors train like prey animals preparing to run away. Where are the lessons in killing? Where is the combat instruction? Where do they learn to dominate their enemies?" The Velkari military doctrine was simple. Hit, hard hit, fast take everything. Kill everything that resists. It had worked perfectly for centuries, but Kang Ho's memories showed something completely different. Human soldiers were taught to improvise, to adapt to survive in impossible conditions. They learned to make weapons from garbage to find food where none existed, to keep fighting even when they were wounded, hungry, and exhausted. The training never stopped. They were always preparing for something worse than what they had faced before. "You are studying the wrong thing," Kang Ho told his captors calmly. "You are looking at our military because you think in terms of armies and battles and decisive victories, but humans have been preparing for this war for millions of years before we ever left our home planet. We have been training since before we discovered Firevex increased the power on the neural probe, making Kang Ho's body convulse with pain. Enough riddles, old human. Tell us where the remaining human forces hide. Tell us which planets still have weapons. Tell us how to find the survivors so we can finish what we started." The commander's patience was wearing thin. This interrogation was not going according to plan. Through gritted teeth, Kang Ho continued talking. "The probe is showing you memories of human military training, but you are not understanding what you see. You think we are prey animals because we run instead of fighting directly. You think we are weak because we use tools instead of claws and teeth. You think we are defeated because you destroyed our cities and ships." The old captain's voice never wavered despite the agony. "But running is not fleeing when you are a human. Running is hunting. Using tools is not weakness when the tools are more effective than teeth. Being scattered is not defeat when every scattered human becomes a separate threat that you have to track down individually." More memories flashed on the display's ancient humans, chasing massive animals across vast distances. Early human tribes, coordinating hunts that lasted for days. Primitive humans learning to make fire, to cook food, to preserve meat, to survive in climates that should have killed them. The Velkari watched in growing confusion as the images showed humans not as warriors, but as something else entirely. "You want to know where our remaining forces are?" Kang Ho asked, his eyes still calm, despite the torture device literally drilling into his brain. "There are no remaining forces, there are no hidden bases, there are no secret weapons. There is only something much more dangerous than any of those things." His smile widened slightly. "There are 7 billion humans who now know exactly what you are and exactly what you can do." The interrogation chamber fell silent except for the humming of the torture devices. The Velkari looked at each other uncertainly. This was not how conquered species were supposed to behave. The human should be broken by now. He should be begging for mercy and revealing everything they wanted to know instead. He seemed to be enjoying himself, and now Kang Ho said softly, "They are all very, very interested in learning how to kill you." The torture devices cycled through their most intense settings, but Kang Ho kept talking. His voice remained steady even as electricity coursed through his body, even as the neural probe dug deeper into his brain. The Velkari had broken the minds of countless species with these methods, but the old human seemed almost unaffected by the pain. "Let me tell you about Earth." Kang Ho said, his words coming out between gasps of agony. "Our home world was full of predators, creatures that could kill. Humans easily, big cats with claws like swords, bears that could crush a human skull with one bite, wolves that hunted in packs and could run down any human over short distances. We were small, weak, slow compared to them. Commander." Vex increased the power again, expecting the human to finally break. But Kang Ho just continued his story. "We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no poison. We could not run as fast as a horse, or climb as well as a monkey, or swim as well as a dolphin. Every other animal on our planet was better at something than we were. So by your logic, we should have gone extinct millions of years ago. Sub-Commander Drack studied the brain scans looking for signs of mental collapse, but the human mind showed remarkable stability. Despite the torture, the neural patterns were unlike anything in their databases. Instead of the chaos of a breaking mind, they saw organized thoughts, careful planning, deliberate control. This human was not just enduring the pain he was processing. But we did not go extinct. Kang Ho continued, his eyes focused on some distant memory. We learned to do something no other predator on Earth could do. We learned to hunt by not giving up. We would pick an animal, maybe a deer or an antelope, and we would start chasing it. The animal would run away easily at first. It was faster, stronger, better at escaping. The Velkari listened despite themselves. The human's words were hypnotic in their certainty, his voice carrying the weight of ancient knowledge, passed down through countless generations. But the animal would get tired, and we would still be coming. We would track it for miles, following its footprints, its scent, the broken branches where it passed. We would keep going when it stopped to rest Kang Ho's. Memories flashed on the neural probe displays, showing primitive humans running across vast grasslands. Their pace was steady, not fast but relentless. Hour after hour, they followed their prey. The animals would sprint away, then stop to catch their breath, only to see the humans still coming, still following, still hunting. The animal would run again, Kang Ho said, and we would follow again. It would hide, and we would find it. It would try to lose us, and we would pick up its trail. It would run until its heart was pounding, until its lungs were burning, until its legs could barely carry it. But we would still be there. Still coming, still hunting. The displays showed the end of these ancient hunts. The prey animals collapsed from exhaustion there, bodies unable to continue. The humans would walk up calmly and finish what they had started, not through superior strength or speed, but through simple, stubborn refusal to give up. The Velkari watched in fascination and growing unease. This is how humans hunted for millions of years. Kang Ho explained, we did not overpower our prey. We outlasted it. We did not need to be faster or stronger. We just needed to keep going when everything else stopped. We learned that anything can be caught if you are patient enough. Anything can be worn down if you refuse to quit. Vex tried a different torture device, one that attacked the nervous system directly, making every nerve feel like it was on fire. But Kang Ho just gritted his teeth and kept talking. Pain is just information, he said through clenched jaws. Information that tells you something is wrong. But humans learn to receive that information and keep functioning anyway. The old captain's body convulsed as the torture intensified, but his voice never wavered. We hunted mammoths, animals 10 times our size. We would throw spears at them, not to kill them immediately, but to wound them to make them bleed. Then we would follow them for days, waiting for the wounds to weaken them. We would attack and retreat and attack again until the giant creature finally fell. More memories flashed, showing early humans using fire as a weapon, driving prey animals over cliffs, coordinating hunts across vast territories. The Velkari began to understand that they were not looking at a military species. They were looking at something far more dangerous, a species that had evolved to hunt everything on their planet, including creatures much larger and more dangerous than themselves. But the most important thing we learned, Kang Ho said, his eyes now focused directly on Vex, was how to hunt as a group. Not just a pack like you do, but as an entire species. Every human tribe shared information about hunting techniques. Every generation built on what the previous generation had learned. We became better hunters, not individually, but collectively. The neural probe showed images of human tribes sharing knowledge, drawing pictures on cave walls, passing stories from parent to child. Each story contained information about tracking, about animal behavior, about which techniques worked and which ones failed. The humans were building a collective intelligence that grew more sophisticated with each generation. Sub-Commander Drac realized what they were seeing. This is not just individual hunting behavior, he said, his voice uncertain. This is species-wide coordination. They were learning from every hunt, sharing the knowledge, improving their methods. They were treating the entire planet as their hunting ground. Exactly, Kang Ho said with that disturbing smile. We learned that no prey could escape if all humans worked together to catch it. We learned that no predator could threaten us if all humans worked together to eliminate it. Do you want to know what happened to all those dangerous animals on Earth? The ones with the claws and fangs and superior strength. The Velkhari waited despite themselves caught up in the human story. They were beginning to understand that they had not captured a defeated enemy. They had captured something that had been studying them since the first moment of contact. They are extinct, Kang Ho said softly. We hunted them until there were none left. We did not fight them in fair combat. We simply made it impossible for them to survive in a world full of humans. We changed their environment, destroyed their food sources, tracked down every breeding pair until there was nothing left but empty forests. The interrogation chamber felt suddenly colder as the implications sank in. The Velkhari had thought they were dealing with another warrior species, something they could understand and defeat through superior force. Instead, they had encountered something that operated on completely different principles. And now Kang Ho concluded, his voice carrying absolute certainty. 7 billion humans are learning everything they can about Velkhari hunting patterns, Velkhari technology, Velkhari biology. Every human who survives your attacks becomes more knowledgeable about how to hurt you. Every defeat teaches us something new about your weaknesses. Vex stepped back from the torture table, his predatory instincts suddenly screaming warnings he did not understand. The human had not moved, had not threatened them, had not even raised his voice. But somehow the power in the room had shifted. The hunter was beginning to feel like prey. The torture reached levels that should have killed most species, but Kang Ho continued talking as if he was having a casual conversation instead of being slowly torn apart by alien devices. His voice remained calm, educational, almost like he was teaching a class about human nature, instead of being interrogated by enemy predators. You want to understand why your victory is actually your defeat, Kang Ho said as electricity coursed through his nervous system. Let me explain how humans really work. When we face a threat, we do not just fight it. We study it. We learn everything we can about it. We find its weaknesses, its patterns, its limitations. Then we exploit those weaknesses until the threat no longer exists. Commander Vex tried different combinations of torture devices hoping to break the human's strange composure, but nothing seemed to work. The old man absorbed pain like a sponge, soaking up water. Each new agony just seemed to make him more focused, more determined to continue. His explanation: right now, scattered across dozens of worlds, there are human survivors hiding in ruins, living in caves, working in slave camps, serving as janitors and cooks and maintenance workers. Kang Ho said, his eyes never leaving Vex's face. You think they are defeated because they are not fighting you directly, but they are all doing the same thing. They are watching, they are learning, they are remembering everything. Sub-Commander Drac checked the security displays looking for signs of human rescue attempts, but the sensors showed only empty space and debris from the recent battle. Where are their reinforcements? He wondered. Why is no one coming to save this prisoner? The lack of immediate human response made him more nervous, not less. Because humans do not waste resources on hopeless rescue attempts, Kang Ho answered as if reading the alien's thoughts. We do not throw good lives after bad. We do not make emotional decisions that compromise our long-term survival. Instead, we Learn from every loss, every captured human, every destroyed base. Every failed battle teaches us something valuable about our enemies. The neural probe displayed more of Kang Ho's memories, showing human refugees from destroyed colonies. These were not broken people hiding in fear. They were survivors, carefully observing their captors. They noted Velkari patrol patterns, guard rotations, shift changes. They memorized the layout of alien facilities, the location of weapon stores, the routines of their captors. "Look at what they are doing," Kang Ho said as the memories played out. The human survivors were not just hiding. They were actively gathering intelligence. Every day they learned something new about Velkari technology, biology, behavior. They shared this information through hidden communication networks, dead drops, secret signals. The displays showed a human child in a refugee camp. She looked maybe 10 years old, barely able to understand what had happened to her world. But she was counting Velkari soldiers, noting their equipment, drawing pictures of their vehicles in the dirt. She was too young to fight, but old enough to remember. And someday she would teach other humans what she had learned. "Even your prisoners are studying." Yu Kang Ho continued. "Every human you capture gives you temporary satisfaction, but gives us permanent intelligence about your methods, your technology, your psychology. You think interrogation is one-way information flow, but humans learn as much about you as you learn about us, Vex." Realized with growing alarm that the human was right. Even during torture, the old man was observing everything. He noted which devices caused which reactions. He studied the alien operators, learning how they thought, how they made decisions, what they considered important. He was turning his own interrogation into a research opportunity. The memories shifted, showing human engineers who had been enslaved to maintain Velkari equipment. They worked slowly, inefficiently, making their alien masters believe they were simply incompetent. But they were actually mapping every system, learning every technical specification, understanding exactly how Velkari technology worked, and more importantly, how it could be sabotaged. "Your mechanics are learning our engineering principles," Sub-Commander Drack observed with sudden concern. "Your technical staff are gaining access to our most advanced systems. Your workers are seeing our manufacturing processes. This is intelligence gathering on a massive scale." Precisely, Kang Ho said, his smile becoming more pronounced. "Every human you enslave becomes a spy inside your civilization. Every survivor you ignore becomes a scout reporting on your activities. Every prisoner you interrogate becomes a graduate student in Velkari studies. And they are all very motivated students." The neural probe went deeper, searching for human military secrets, but found something more disturbing instead. It found a detailed psychological profile that Kang Ho had been building during his capture. He had analyzed Velkari body language, social hierarchies, decision-making processes. He understood their culture better than many. Velkari understood themselves. "You have been studying us this entire time," Vex said, his voice carrying a note of respect mixed with fear. "Even while we tortured you, even while you were helpless, you were learning our weaknesses, analyzing our behavior, preparing reports that will somehow reach other humans." Kang Ho nodded slowly. "Information is the only weapon that matters in the long term. Brute force wins battles, but knowledge wins wars. And humans are very, very good at gathering knowledge. We have been doing it for so long that we do it automatically even when we are dying, even when we are in agony, even when hope seems impossible." The displays showed more human survivors across different worlds. All of them were doing the same thing, observing, learning, adapting. They worked as laborers and gained access to industrial facilities. They served as servants and learned the layout of command centers. They pretended to be broken and gained the trust of their captors only to steal technical manuals and communication codes. But the most terrifying thing was how they coordinated. Information sharing. Human survivors used coded messages hidden in seemingly innocent communications. They embedded intelligence in artwork, in songs, in stories that were passed from one group to another. They created networks that the Velkari could not detect or understand. This is not random resistance activity, Sub-Commander Drack said, reading the intelligence reports with growing dread. This is systematic preparation for future operations. They are building detailed profiles of our entire civilization. Our strengths, our weaknesses, our resources, our limitations, and they are very patient about it. Kang Ho added, every piece of information gets filed away. Every observation gets shared with the network. Every small detail becomes part of a larger picture that we are building of your empire. Humans can wait decades for the right moment to use what we have learned. We can plan operations that take generations to complete. Vex shut down the torture devices, suddenly understanding that they were not extracting information. They were providing it. Every reaction the human showed taught him something about Velkari interrogation techniques. Every question they asked revealed their priorities, their concerns, their operational methods. The old human was not their prisoner. He was their teacher, and the lesson he was providing would somehow find its way to every surviving human in the galaxy. How Vex demanded his voice, now showing the first signs of uncertainty. How do you communicate? How do you coordinate? How do you share this intelligence across interstellar distances when your communication networks were destroyed? Kang Ho's smile became almost gentle, as if he was proud of a student who had finally asked the right question. That is the most beautiful part, he said softly. We do not need technology to communicate. We are humans. We have been sharing information across impossible distances since before we invented writing. The revelation hit the Velkari like a physical blow. Humans had evolved as social hunters who could coordinate complex activities across vast territories long before they had any advanced technology. They had developed methods of information sharing that did not depend on machines, or networks methods that alien intelligence services could not intercept or understand. And now those ancient human abilities were being applied to the problem of defeating a galactic empire. Kang Ho's voice took on the tone of someone delivering a lecture to students who needed to understand something very important for their own survival. You are thinking like predators, he said calmly, despite the restraints cutting into his wrists. You assume that defeating our military means defeating our species. But humans learned long ago that military forces are just one tool among many. We have dozens of other tools that we prefer to use. Commander Vex deactivated the torture devices, completely now understanding that pain was not going to break this human. Instead, it was just providing more information about Velkari methods that would somehow find its way back to human intelligence networks. Explain these other tools, he demanded. What weapons do you have that we have not already destroyed? Kang Ho laughed softly, but there was no humor in it, only a kind of patient satisfaction. Weapons. You are still thinking in terms of weapons and battles and military solutions. But the tools humans use to eliminate threats are much more subtle, much more effective than simple weapons. We use time, we use patience, we use the environment itself, we use your own nature against you. The neural probe displayed memories from Kang Ho's childhood, showing him learning about Earth's history, about how humans had dealt with threats throughout their evolution. The images showed not battles, but something else entirely. Humans slowly changing their environment, making it impossible for competing species to survive. Human settlements gradually expanding, taking over territories that other predators needed for hunting. Sub-Commander Drack studied the memory displays with growing unease. This is not warfare, he said. This is something else. This is environmental modification on a planetary scale. They did not fight their competitors directly. They simply made it impossible for those competitors to find food or shelter or breeding grounds. Exactly. Kang Ho said, his eyes bright with the satisfaction of a teacher whose student finally understood the lesson. We learned that the best way to eliminate a threat is not to fight it directly, but to make its existence unsustainable. We change the conditions that allow the threat to survive. We modify the environment until the threat cannot adapt fast enough. The displays showed how humans had dealt with Earth's predators, not through combat, but through systematic habitat destruction. They cut down forests where big cats hunted. They diverted rivers, where large herbivores came to drink. They built settlements in areas where predator species had their dens. The predators found themselves with nowhere to hunt, nowhere to hide, nowhere to raise their young. But this process took thousands of years. Sub-Commander Drac protested. Your species was primitive, then you had no technology, no space travel, no industrial capacity. You cannot use the same methods against a galactic empire. Kong Ho's smile widened, showing teeth that looked suddenly very sharp. Oh, but we can, he said softly. We can, and we are. In fact, we started the process the moment your first scout ships appeared in human space. Every contact, every battle, every occupation has been teaching us about your supply lines, your resource requirements, your technological dependencies. The old captain began to explain how humans had been preparing for this war long before it officially started. Human intelligence services had been studying Velkari expansion patterns for years. They had identified the resources the alien empire needed to maintain itself. The rare minerals for their weapons, the biological compounds for their food systems, the energy sources for their faster-than-light travel. Your empire is very impressive, Kang Ho said admiringly, but it is also very complex. Complex systems have more failure points, more dependencies, more vulnerabilities, and humans are very good at finding vulnerabilities. Right now, scattered across your territory, human survivors are learning exactly where those failure points are located. The neural probe showed recent memories of human refugees working in Velkari industrial facilities. They appeared to be simple laborers doing menial tasks, but they were actually mapping production, systems noting quality control procedures, understanding exactly how Velkari manufacturing worked. A human janitor cleaning floors was actually studying the layout of critical infrastructure. Another memory showed human prisoners working in Velkari, food processing centers. They seemed broken and defeated, but they were learning about alien nutritional requirements, biological vulnerabilities, potential toxins that might affect Velkari physiology. A human cook preparing alien meals was actually researching biological warfare possibilities. Even your interrogation is providing valuable intelligence. Kang Ho pointed out, I am learning about your decision-making processes, your psychological responses, your cultural assumptions. I am building a profile of Velkari leadership mentality that will help other humans predict your reactions and plan accordingly. Commander Vex realized with horror that every human the Velkari had captured was potentially an intelligence-gathering operation. Every prisoner was studying their captors. Every slave was mapping alien facilities. Every survivor was reporting back to some kind of human intelligence network. They had thought they were collecting prisoners, but they were actually providing human spies with perfect cover identities. But how do you coordinate these activities? Vex demanded. Your communication networks are destroyed, your command structure is broken, your government is scattered. How can individual humans possibly work together on such a massive scale without central coordination? Kang Ho paused, as if deciding whether to reveal a crucial secret. Then he spoke with the voice of someone sharing ancient wisdom. Humans do not need central coordination to work together. We evolved as pack hunters, remember. We learned to coordinate activities through shared understanding, through common knowledge, through cultural programming that is passed down from generation to generation. He explained that every human child learned the same basic principles from the moment they could walk. They learned about persistence, hunting, about environmental modification, about long-term planning, about species-wide coordination. These were not military tactics, they were fundamental aspects of human culture that existed at levels deeper than conscious thought. Every human knows instinctively what needs to be done, Kang Ho said. When faced with an existential threat, we automatically begin gathering intelligence, sharing information, preparing long-term responses. We do not need orders from commanders, we do not need coordinated battle plans, we just need to understand the nature of the threat. The displays showed human survivors across different worlds, all doing similar things without any apparent coordination. They were studying alien technology, mapping facility, layouts, analyzing guard rotations, documenting transportation schedules. They were building detailed intelligence profiles that would somehow find their way to other humans through methods the Velkhari could not understand or intercept. Sub-Commander Drac checked the chronometer, realizing that months had passed since the Velkhari victory over humanity. Months during which human survivors had been working as slaves and prisoners throughout the Empire. Months during which every human had been studying alien weaknesses and reporting their findings through invisible networks. How long, Vex asked, his voice now carrying real concern. How long before these intelligence gathering activities become active operations? How long before observation becomes sabotage? Kang Ho considered the question seriously, as if calculating orbital mechanics or weather patterns. 6 months, he said finally. 6 months for initial intelligence, gathering to be complete. 12 months for detailed operational planning. 18 months for coordination of simultaneous activities across multiple systems. 2 years for full environmental modification to begin. The old human's voice carried the certainty of someone describing natural processes beyond any individual's control. Your outer colonies will start reporting unusual equipment failures within 6 months. Your supply convoys will begin experiencing navigation problems within a year. Your industrial facilities will develop mysterious quality control issues within 18 months. And the beautiful part, Kang Ho concluded with quiet satisfaction, is that you will not be able to prove that humans are responsible for any of it. Environmental modification does not leave fingerprints. Infrastructure degradation looks like natural system failures. Equipment breakdowns appear to be normal maintenance issues. The Velkhari realized they were not looking at a defeated enemy. They were looking at a long-term extinction event that had already begun. Commander Vex realized with growing dread that the human was not making threats. He was making predictions based on species-level behavioral patterns. The old man spoke with the calm certainty of someone describing weather patterns or orbital mechanics. "You called us prey animals," Kang Ho said softly. "But look at what we did to our own planet's predators. We did not drive them extinct through superior force. We simply made it impossible for them to hunt successfully. We changed the environment until they could not adapt fast enough. The few that survived did so by learning to coexist with humans, on human terms." The truth settled over the Velkhari like a cold weight. Every species they had conquered before had tried to match their military might. The humans were not even attempting that strategy. Instead, they were treating the Velkhari, Empire itself, as prey to be patiently stalked and worn down. "You are magnificent predators," Kang Ho acknowledged with genuine respect. "In a fair fight, you would win every time. But humans do not fight fair. We fight to win, using every advantage we can create or steal or improvise. We have no honor in combat, no pride in martial prowess. We have only the absolute determination to outlast everything that threatens our survival." Vex found himself stepping back from the examination table, his predatory instincts suddenly screaming warnings. The human had not moved, had not broken his restraints, had not even raised his voice. But somehow the power dynamic in the room had completely reversed. "Release me, and I will negotiate humanity's surrender," Kang Ho offered calmly. continue, holding me, and I become a learning opportunity for 7 billion persistence hunters who are very interested in understanding how Velkari ships operate. His eyes held the patience of geological time. The choice is yours, Commander, but choose quickly. Every minute you delay gives my species more time to study your behavior patterns. The interrogation chamber felt suddenly smaller, as if the vast alien warship had become a trap rather than a fortress. Outside, in the darkness of space, the debris of humanity's fleet drifted silently, and the Velkari could not shake the feeling that they were being watched by patient, calculating eyes. The cold darkness of space held no mercy for the dying. The human fleet burned like dying stars against the black void. Captain Kang Ho felt his ship shake apart around him as alien weapons tore through the hull of Soul's Pride. The bridge exploded in sparks and flame. His crew was gone. The war was lost. Earth itself was probably burning right now. Kang Ho was 70 years old. His gray hair was matted with blood from a head wound. His hands shook as he dragged himself toward the escape pods. The ship groaned around him like a wounded animal. Metal twisted, and air rushed out through holes in the walls. He had fought in 3 wars before this one. He had seen friends die. He had watched colonies burn. But this felt different. This felt final. The escape pod launched just as his ship exploded. The blast threw him against the pod walls. His old bones cracked. His vision went dark. When he woke up, he was floating in the debris field of what used to be humanity's greatest fleet. Pieces of ships drifted around him like a metal graveyard. The pod systems were failing. Life support had maybe an hour left. Then the alien ship found him. The Velkari warship was massive. It looked like a giant metal predator with teeth made of weapons. The hull was dark green with yellow markings that looked like war paint. Kang Ho watched through the pod's small window as mechanical arms reached out to grab his tiny vessel. He was pulled inside like food being swallowed by a monster. The docking bay was huge and cold. Steam rose from the deck as the temperature changed. The walls were covered in strange symbols that hurt to look at. Alien voices echoed in the distance, speaking in hisses and clicks that sounded like angry snakes. Kang Ho tried to prepare himself for what was coming, but his old body was too tired and broken. The pod door melted away under an alien cutting tool. Kang Ho saw his captors for the first time. The Velkari were 8 feet tall with thick green scales that looked like armor. Their heads were long, like lizards with glowing yellow eyes. Their mouths were full of sharp teeth meant for tearing meat. Their claws looked like metal knives. Long tails whipped behind them as they moved. Commander Vex was the largest. Of them, his scales were darker than the others, with scars that told stories of many battles. A metal collar around his neck showed his rank. His voice was like grinding stone when he spoke in broken human language. "Good we caught one alive," he said, looking down at Kang Ho like he was studying an insect. The other Velkari laughed. It sounded like metal scraping on metal. One of them poked Kang Ho with the tip of his claw. "This one is old Vex, very old. Look at the gray fur on its head. Look how slow it moves. This creature will die soon anyway," another said. Sub-Commander Drac moved closer. His breath smelled like rotting meat. "Maybe we should eat this one now before it expires naturally." He suggested. Vex studied Kang Ho more carefully. "No, this one has knowledge. See the marks on its clothing. This is a leader of their military. We will break its mind first, then we will learn where the other humans hide. Then we can hunt them all down, like the prey animals they are." The Velkari all made sounds of agreement. Their tails swished with excitement. They grabbed Kang Ho roughly. His old joints screamed in pain as they dragged him through the ship. The corridors were dark and warm. The walls pulsed like they were alive. Everything smelled like blood and metal. Strange lights cast moving shadows that looked like dancing demons. The ship felt like being inside a giant predator's stomach. Other aliens worked in the corridors. Some were prisoners from other conquered species. They moved, like broken things. Their eyes held no hope. They had been slaves for so long, they forgot what freedom looked like. Some were missing limbs. Others had strange scars from alien experiments. None of them looked at Kang Ho as he was dragged past. They knew he was already dead. The interrogation chamber was in the center of the ship. It was round with no windows. The walls were covered in devices that looked designed to cause pain. Chains hung from the ceiling. Stains on the floor showed this room had seen much suffering. A metal table sat in the middle with restraints that would hold any creature still. There were no chairs because the Velkari preferred to stand over their victims. They strapped Kang Ho to the table. The metal was cold against his back. The restraints were made for creatures much larger than humans, but they held him tight. Vex walked around the table like a predator, circling wounded prey. His claws clicked on the metal floor. His yellow eyes never left Kang Ho's face. Many species have been on this table. Vex said, his voice full of satisfaction. All of them broke eventually. Some tried to be brave, some tried to lie, some tried to bargain. But in the end, they all told us what we wanted to know. Then they begged for death. The Velkari commander leaned close to Kang Ho's face. "You will be no different." Old human, Kang Ho said nothing. He studied his captors instead. He watched how they moved, how they established who was in charge, how they reacted to each other. He noted their weapons, their armor, their behavior patterns. These were hunters. He could see it in everything they did. They were used to being the most dangerous things in any room. They had never been anything but predators. Sub-Commander Drac activated some of the devices in the room. Holographic displays lit up, showing images of burning human cities, destroyed space stations, bodies floating in the void. The destruction of Earth's colonies played like a sick entertainment show. "Your species is extinct," Drac said with pleasure. "We burned your worlds. We scattered your fleets. There is nothing left but small groups running and hiding." But Kang Ho just smiled a little. It was not a happy smile. It was something else, something that made Vex step back, slightly without knowing why. The old human's eyes held no fear, no desperation, no broken defeat. Instead, they held something that looked almost like patience, like he was waiting for something. "You think this is over?" Kang Ho said quietly, his voice steady, despite his pain. "You think you have won, but you have never fought humans before. You have only fought other predators, creatures like yourselves, who hunt and kill and take what they want." His voice carried something that made the Velkari uncomfortable. "You are about to learn the difference between predators and apex predators." The interrogation was about to begin, but somehow Vex had the strange feeling that he was the one being studied.